Welcome to Free Range with Gail of Gaia. Today, Gail talks with Patty Greer and Chris Perez, producers of C60 Evo products. The C60 molecule was invented in 1985 by three scientists who were awarded the 96th Nobel Prize for their discovery. You're going to want to know a whole lot more, and the show starts right now.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Free Range, and this is Gail of Gaia. And I have with me today two very interesting people whose product I intend and will be carrying. I currently have an affiliate link. And one of the reasons that I picked them was because of the high quality of their product, as well as the scientific nature that goes behind it. So we have Chris, who's the scientist, and we have Patty, who, how should I say you, Patty? You're the marketing
and
marketing.
The designer of products.
Yes. Oh, and you came up with the facial product, right?
I did. And
it is awesome. That's the one I noticed first, in all honesty. Of course, I did have improved sleep too. But let's talk about that. I don't want to do the talking because you guys are the experts on this. I'm kind of new. I've been taking it for a few days, and I'm always impressed with a product that you can notice something within the first couple of days. If you don't notice anything, then I'm concerned. But right. I will say this too, I take supplements. I'm a nutritionist by, background. And so of course I take some supplements and so on. So I detox. So I have that. And sometimes those people don't notice it quite as quickly, but I did notice it. So that's impressive. So Chris, let's go to you, and you're the scientist here. Tell me about your lab and how you developed this high quality product, and let's see, maybe I'll have some questions as you explain that.
Absolutely. So first, thank you so much for having us, giving us an opportunity to share some kind of exciting results and actually some research that a lot of people aren't aware of around the product. I started my company back in 1991, manufacturing carbon nanomaterials. And your first question is, well, what's a carbon nanomaterial?
Yes.
That's a great question. I'm holding up right now a model. I don't know how much of your audience just listens, but if you're listening, just imagine a soccer ball where the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. And you have a spherical molecule of 60 carbon atoms. This molecule was discovered here in Houston in 1985. And the three professors who discovered it actually won the Nobel Prize in 1996 for that discovery. So it's a pretty amazing molecule. It's harder than a diamond. It'll turn into a diamond. It's got six-fold symmetry. So there's six planes around the buckyball about which it's symmetrical. What that means is it's a very resilient molecule. You actually can fire this molecule at 15,000 miles an hour against the steel plate. Most molecules will just shred apart. This molecule will just compress and then bounce right back. So it's an amazing molecule. It's also why those scientists won the Nobel Prize. What was that?
No, I just said that's amazing that it would do that. Okay, so that is in the product, correct?
Well, yeah. So basically, they won the Nobel Prize. I started manufacturing it in 1991. You kind of fast forward to 2012, and they actually did, for various reasons, they thought the molecule would be toxic. So they did a toxicity study on the molecule, and they published those results in 2012. In that study, they gave rats water, rats olive oil, and then rats olive oil with ESS 60. That's what we call carbon 60 that's been processed for safer human consumption. Instead of those rats dying early because it was toxic, those rats given really the C60 Evo formula lived 90% longer than the control
I was going to
group.
bring that up if you didn't. That was surprising when I read that. Yeah.
If the average human were to live 90% longer, then the average human will live to 152. Remember, that's the average. That's not the oldest or the youngest. It's the average. So it's a pretty phenomenal result. It's the single longest longevity experimental result in human history. It is on mammals, and it is peer-reviewed, published research. So it does hit those check marks that you want on any research that really you're going to use to see if it's going to make an adjustment in how you go about your daily life.
Well,
That
what is it
result-
about?
Yeah.
What is it about the molecule that makes that happen?
Yeah. So current medical thought process is that aging, or the predominant current thought process is that aging is an oxidation and an inflammation issue in our bodies.
Yes,
so as we go about
definitely.
our days, our bodies are processing food that creates free radical species in our bodies, so oxygenation species. And that causes damage. Also, we have inflammation, and adverse inflammation can be good in some situations, but overall, in general, can shorten our life. That's the current thought process. So this particular product, that's the ESS60 in olive oil. That's the oil that we would recommend in general. We have other oils, but ESS60 in olive oil is a known antioxidant. There's at least one research paper out there that shows it to be 172 times more powerful than vitamin C.
I saw that too.
Pretty amazing.
Yes.
And then you talk about, you got to be very careful when you talk about inflammation. At a minimum, we can say our base oil, olive oil, is filled with a lot of antioxidant, anti-inflammatory components. And the product fits right in with an anti-inflammatory diet. You can feel free to read between the lines. For FDA reasons, I can't say it's an anti-inflammatory product.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Believe me, being a nutritionist, I know about the FDA.
Yeah. So, and we want to be on the right side of them because they do a lot of things that protect us. So that's a good thing.
Oh, that's subject to debate, but that's okay. You can say that.
Well, here's one debate, right? So the FDA, for whatever reason, has determined that inflammation, if you're talking about inflammation, it means you're talking about disease. And we know this to be an abjectly false, because we've all had gone out and worked out too much or exerted ourselves and woken up with inflammation. And that is obviously not a disease inflammation, it's inflammation. So you got,
Right.
That's one of the reasons. It's just wrong, but that's what they've determined. And so we fit naturally in an anti-inflammatory diet. By the way, anti-inflammatory diets are associated with reduced incidences of stroke, heart attack, and actually longer lives. So
Yes.
it really does fit
Yes.
very naturally.
Yeah, inflammation is not a good thing. And chronic inflammation is bad.
Absolutely.
And our diets certainly can contribute to that as well. And
100%.
so it fights, but I also noticed that it has antibacterial and antiviral, and that's always subject to debate as well. But it has, what about alkalinity? Does it affect the alkalinity of the body at all in any way?
I haven't had anybody ask me that question, so I will have to do some research and come up. I haven't had anybody come back to us because I know there is a field of study that talks about alkalinity and its impact on your body, deep breathing exercises, alkaline water, those kinds of things. I'm just not sure how this particular product affects alkalinity.
Well, it's interesting because those types of things usually increase longevity as well. So who knows, maybe the two combination would really be super double pack power.
Well,
but anyway,
one of our most consistent testimonials, and this is the consistent testimonial. Well, actually, we did a podcast earlier and it said that it's a hangover helper. That's not our most consistent testimonial. Our most consistent one is our customers take it in the morning. They report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. And we all know that sleep is valuable. We all know that it's
very much so.
Really valuable. We all know this. And we know that it's good for our mental, physical, and emotional well-being. But as a society, we often do a lot of lip service to sleep, and we're like, oh, you absolutely must get 7 to 9 hours of sleep opportunity every night. Well, unless there's something else to do, right? We're the only species on the planet that will forego sleep with no healthful purpose, for no healthful purpose, just as fun and energizing as going out dancing can be, like you're really not generating health by staying up late and going out dancing. Not to mention if you have a couple drinks, right? So we are that only species that will forego sleep for no healthful reason. But sleep is so important and has such a positive impact on our lives. So a lot of people don't realize when we do daylight savings time and we gain an hour, heart attacks actually go down by about 20%. When we lose that hour, heart attacks go up by 20%. So yes, sleep impacts your cardiovascular health. If you go 2 days without sleep and do a blood glucose test, you will show up as a diabetic. Not because you have diabetes, but because you haven't had 2 nights of sleep. And there's a book out there called by Dr. Matthew Walker, called Why We Sleep. It's a phenomenal book, and it's the scariest book you'll ever read about sleep. So you think about how much of healing and restoration happens when you sleep properly. And I'm going to put properly in there because we can talk about the $2 billion sleep aid industry. But when you sleep
that's probably not good, but anyway.
Yeah, the short story is it's not good. The long story is it's actually really, really dangerous. So that sleep is when we actually heal our bodies. Yes. And if you just think, back when we lived in tribes and, how dangerous was it to be unconscious for 8 hours when a lion could come grab you or whatever animal. And it's so useful. Sleep is so useful that we put ourselves at that risk in order to get sleep. And so it really is highly impactful. Now you compare that to, again, this $2 billion, and we'll do the air quotes, sleep aid industry. Those are prescription medications. And actually, it's Dr. Matthew Walker who talks in his book, Why We Sleep. He talks about that industry and how you take those drugs right before you go to sleep and they knock you out. And there's a chemical in our body called adenosine. And as adenosine builds up, we desire sleep more, right? And what will happen when you take these quote unquote sleep aids is you'll wake up and your body will have relieved the chemical pressure of adenosine. So you don't desire sleep when you wake up, which can, like, if you don't feel like you need more sleep, then you feel like you had a lot of rest. The problem is those drugs are depressants, and they actually suppress your REM sleep and your NREM sleep. So imagine, like,
we're always dealing with symptom relief rather than the root of the problem.
Imagine getting hit on the head with a hammer, being unconscious for 8 hours, and then waking up and going, how was your sleep? Well, I may not desire sleep, but I didn't get the healing and restorative sleep that I need. And what's interesting is how our product is so significantly different than that quote unquote sleep aid. Our customers take the product in the morning, and I'd be interested in when you're taking and your feedback, but our customers take it in the morning. They report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep at night. There's nothing that I'm aware of. Actually, there's only 2 things that I'm aware of that you can do, and there are activities that you can do in the morning to help you sleep at night. One of them is exercise. If you exercise in the morning, you will sleep better that night. The other one is actually getting exposure to the sun to get your body's system in line with the circadian rhythm of the rising and falling of the sun. So when are you taking it, and what's your experience been?
Well, I'm taking it in the morning, and my experience was I do honestly feel similar to what others have said, a bit more focus and clarity in my thinking. And I have slept better too. And I'm going, wow, this is interesting. And I mean that sincerely, because I don't know if you are aware of it, but there are a lot of people out there now, because I think largely because of what's going on the planet, that are just not sleeping well. People are scared, they're worried, they're stressed, they're anything you can think of. And it's going into the collective and affecting everyone. So sleep is critical, especially when you're under pressure or under stress. Nothing you need more than sleep, and the harder it is to get. So it's a blessing to have a product of this of this nature that's natural. What interests me is I don't understand how it works, you know? So
Yeah.
what makes it work?
So we can, again, if you go back to longevity, it's you know, anti-inflammatory, oxidation. It's the antioxidant capability. Again, 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. If you want to break it down into the nitty gritty, like what is going on at the cellular level, I can speak a little to that, but just know the reality is people a lot smarter than me are going to figure out what exactly the impact is happening. There's a couple
I
things.
was wondering,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I was just wondering about melatonin, because that's a key substance in terms of sleep. If maybe somehow it affects that. I don't know.
I don't know that it affects melatonin. And if it does, you've got to think about how it's affecting melatonin. Because melatonin, a lot of people just, you know, think of it as like the sleep hormone, right? They just think, oh, you need it and you take it and you fall asleep. What people don't realize is actually melatonin is the starting gun for telling your body to go to sleep. So if you take the wrong amount at the wrong time, so as an example, if you take too much of it, imagine this starting gun in your body at midnight, right? And you wake up groggy like that.
Exactly
at the right time. It's got to be exactly the right amount. And oh, by the way, everybody's reaction is different.
Right? So we're all unique.
That's just true across the board. So melatonin has some particular challenges. The only other thing that I would recommend for sleep, I don't know if we're familiar with valerian root.
Oh yes, I am. So that's kind of a tranquilizer. Yeah.
So the effect, at least the effect
natural.
for me, and that I've read about it, and you can get it in your grocery store. There's a tea called Sleepy Time Tea, cute little teddy bear with a sleeping cap on, and there's a version with and without valerian. And valerian, for me, what it did and what I've read is that it actually just quieted my mind, right? So it didn't knock me out per se, but when I put my head on my pillow, my mind wasn't racing about, oh, did I do the dishes? Did I do the dishes right? You know, like whatever is going on. So that quiets your mind. Our product actually, at least in my case, has kind of a different response where I'm going to bed and my mind is still, I won't say racing because that feels like out of control, but it's still ticking, right? It's still processing.
Thinking about stuff.
And and I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't go to bed because my mind is actually processing a lot of stuff. But as soon as my head hits the pillow, boom, I'm out. And I may wake up in the middle of the night, and while I'm walking to the restroom, my brain is like, okay, and I could get up and work some more. But I go back, my head hits the pillow, and boom, I'm out again. So that's kind of my experience. And valerian is not like that.
I've had a similar experience.
Yeah.
It's interesting about the product. It really is.
And I can tell you, kind of embarrassingly, I can say that I used to take 2 naps before noon on Saturdays and Sundays. Let me qualify that just a little. Not that it's gonna make me look any better, but basically I would wake up early. I'd go down to the couch. My kids are watching cartoons, and basically they would sit on top of me, and I would take a nap. And then I would get up and I would have breakfast, and after breakfast I would take a nap. I was literally taking 2 naps Saturdays and Sundays. Really, since 2018, I don't take naps. I may sit on the couch with the kids to watch a cartoon. So I'm, still in that position where it would be easy to fall asleep. In fact, I choose to do other things. I actually get up and like do stuff that, I do my honey-do list. Actually, my wife's very happy about that. So that's kind of the experience that a lot of our customers share with us.
Okay, well, here's another thing. I noticed that it is supposed to have antiviral and antibacterial effects. How has that been determined?
Okay, so if you look at just olive oil on its own, the antibacterial and antiviral, because olive oil, although there's lots of energy in it, has a shelf life of 3 years, and that's after you open it. So it's inherently antiviral, antibacterial. If you want to dig down into the molecule, right, the C60 molecule, I don't think I've really kind of made the right demarcation. So originally, what was discovered was C60, carbon 60, the buckyball. there's peer-reviewed published research that shows C60, at least if you improperly process C60, it's actually harmful. ESS60 is C60 that's been processed for safer human consumption. So usually when I'm talking about consuming a molecule of carbon with 60 atoms, I'm talking about ESS60.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I have a scientist friend who said to me, well, if you're going to carry that product, make sure that it's high quality, because some of the products could actually be dangerous.
Yes, I suspect that there are, well, I don't know that they're dangerous. I believe that, let's put it this way, I wouldn't put them in my body because they might be dangerous. There are products out there that we've tested. That
well, that's when corners are cut in order to produce more at a lesser rate so they can make more money. I mean, that tends to be one of the problems.
Yeah.
But and at the same time, you always pay for quality.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not even necessarily cutting corners. Like you can look at the pedigree of my company. We've been manufacturing this buckyball, right? This ESS60 molecule since 1991 and selling it to research institutions around the world. So from 1991, really until about 2018, when I sold a product to a customer, that customer gave it to their grad student or they gave it to their research associate, and they took it back to their HPLC and they tested it. So if I told them I was selling them something that was pure, they tested it and confirmed it was pure. I had to sell into a market where people could actually test what I was selling to them.
So then you are independently tested in terms of quality, you could say right there. Yes.
Well, so it's interesting because a lot of people will hang their hat on independent testing, and we do independent testing, and I think it's an important part of it. But we actually because we can do our own testing in-house, we test our product through the whole process. Here's an example. In the original study, they mixed olive oil with that ESS60 molecule for 2 weeks. And then every company that decided to get into this industry because there was an opportunity to make some money, they were mixing their product for 2 weeks. What we found out is as you increase the size of your vat, right? So you go from an Erlenmeyer flask that's about 1 liter to a 36-liter container and you're mixing in it, 2 weeks is no longer long enough to get maximum concentration. There's fluid flow issues that cause you to not be able to mix this as quickly, to dissolve it as quickly. And so we now actually mixed ours for 3 weeks. And in our case, because you're mixing it for 3 weeks, you're actually mixing it at a high speed. There's a really deep vortex. You don't want to be folding oxygen into that vortex. And so we actually do it in a nitrogen bath. And of course it's sealed. So light's not that big of an issue, but we just eliminate that issue altogether. That's 3 weeks. So these other companies, they don't have the equipment to test it. And it's really expensive to test your batch multiple times. And I can assure you that some of them are not testing their batches at all. Because in the early days, one company was selling a lot of MCT, and on the MCT, they said 0.8 milligrams per milliliter. That's an accurate quantity for olive oil, but you cannot get 0.8 milligrams per milliliter of the ESS60 molecule into MCT oil. It's actually impossible. It's kind of like saying, oh, you can get 1 gram of sugar in water, but I can get 5. No, you can't. There's no physical way. You've reached the physical limitation of the solubility of ESS60 and MCT oil. So their original packaging said 0.8 milligrams to milliliter. It just goes to kind of scientific integrity and really just I'm pretty altruistic. I like to believe that people aren't out there screwing other people on purpose.
I like to believe that too, but unfortunately, it's not always the case.
Yes, I think you're right. I'm trying to stick to it. I try. So good. You know, I think they're like, oh, I'm going to mix it for 2 weeks. That's what they did in that study. I don't know the difference between olive oil and MCT oil, so I'm going to assume it's 0.8 milligrams instead of actually test it, and I'm going to put this on the market and make money.
See, and
that's what's happening.
Yeah. And I think we have a big issue too, with the fact that there's a lot of olive oil out there that's not real olive oil.
Yeah, that's a challenge. And let's be realistic. We face that challenge. The way we've gone about managing it is dealing with like individual orchards, either in Tunisia or in Greece, so that we have some sort of chain of custody that we're more comfortable with.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, because I've read a lot about olive oil is not really olive oil.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately, sometimes it's palm oil, and you can take an MCT that's palm oil, like palm, the deforestation that's happening in the rainforest because of palm oil is just a travesty.
yes, it is. It is. So back to the antibacterial and antiviral. What was that?
Yeah,
Oh, that was from the olive oil itself. So
right. So you
not
got that from the
necessarily
olive oil.
have anything to do with the buckyball.
Let's say this, at a minimum, it's with the olive oil. There's actually a patent related to the ESS60 molecule blocking the reproduction of the AIDS virus. So back when this hit the mainstream was back in the 90s, also AIDS was hitting the mainstream at that point.
Yeah.
And it was proven that this buckyball, right, could block the reproduction of the AIDS virus. And so there's actually patents related to it. So it is in fact antiviral.
Oh, wow. Yes, and I've talked to Dr. Judy Mikovits before, who had some direct work with AIDS and so on. So that's very fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, you also make claims about the endurance factors. How does that play in? Do you know?
So
physical endurance with sports and so on.
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about what could be happening, because in reality, there's scientists who are much smarter than me who are ultimately going to figure out like the specifics of what's happening. We know that the ESS60 molecule is small enough and gets into the mitochondria and participates in the ATP process. For those who don't know,
small.
Yes. For those who don't know, mitochondria is a feature of every cell in our body. It's actually a foreign cell that's been incorporated into every cell of our body many millennia ago. And it's actually what provides the energy to each cell in our body. No mitochondria, no cell, no people, no nothing.
No energy. Yeah. They call it the energy cell of the body. I mean, really.
Yeah. It's the powerhouse or the furnace.
Powerhouse. I was looking for the right word. I couldn't. It wasn't coming to me. So thank you.
So that ESS60 molecule can participate in that mitochondria. If you were to fill a room with mitochondria experts and you were to ask them, hey, would it be beneficial to have a free radical sponge in the mitochondria while it's going through the ATP process? All of them would raise their hand and say, yes, that sounds like a good idea, right? So that is a potential for the impact. And I can share like the 2 testimonials that I have. By the way, anytime I talk about a testimonial, I'm only going to talk about like my personal experience that I think is valid. I have lots of things that are like, oh, I feel better. That's not, for me, that's not a valid testimonial.
Yeah, that's kind of nebulous, but.
Right. Yeah. Me not taking 2 naps on Saturdays and Sundays, that's very binary, right? Like I used to take naps. In fact, it was 2. Now I don't take naps. Like that's very concrete. When I share testimonials from other people, I will only share testimonials with people. Not only have I had the conversation with me personally, I had the conversation with them, but I can go back and find those people and trace like who they are. And if we needed for legal reasons to have a conversation with them, I would be able to do that. If a customer tells me about a friend who happens also to be a customer and their experience, I would never share that because I just don't have that kind of chain of custody to the person and couldn't recreate that testimonial. So these are 2 people who actually work on one of my teams. One of them is a former professional football player, played in the AFL. He was, after the day after his first serving, he was running bleachers with his wife. His wife is a personal trainer. He noticed the difference in himself, and she noticed the difference in him the next day in terms of being able to train longer. I've got another, he's actually a young kid who plays indoor soccer. Indoor soccer is a straight on sprinting sport, and you just run as fast as you can until you can't breathe anymore. And then you take a break and then you get back on. He said, again, the next day after his first serving, that he was on the soccer field, on the indoor soccer field for 20 minutes instead of 10 minutes, right? So he says he had doubled it. let's just cut that in half. If he just added 50% to his time and went to 15 minutes, it's a phenomenal result. So we do get really quick results, testimonials of really quick results from some people.
Well, what's interesting about that is, from what I understand, there are many doctors now that are diagnosing mitochondrial dysfunction. Now, whether that dysfunction is the result of toxic substance overload, you might say, or what, just the fact that this would, impact the mitochondria is very big in my book. Yes. And is there something that we're aware of that it does in terms of detoxification?
So I've heard a lot of people talking about detox as it relates to ESS 60. I haven't had any particular experience, and Patty does. So she'll share her experience, but I haven't had any particular experience. Patty?
Okay. Yeah, that's a big deal right now, nowadays. A lot of people are concerned about that. And if it does help in that way, it certainly would be worth noting. Go ahead. Tell us, Patty.
Well, number one, I want to say something that Chris heard me say a little earlier that nobody has heard in over a year. I have a cold. Nobody gets sick anymore. It's all whatever that thing is. Nobody gets a cold, but I have a cold. I'm sneezing, and it's interesting because the few people, that have called
me. You don't look like you have a cold.
And you don't sound like it.
Anyway, not that you can tell, but sometimes you can. But anyway, yeah, you don't sound like it either.
I know. It's so minor. But everybody said to me, "Oh, are you going to go get tested?" And I said, "I have a cold."
Yeah, really.
Do you remember those? Do you remember heart attacks or strokes? I mean, nobody's had anything this year except that. On the other hand, I haven't been sick in years, and I'm kind of arrogant about it because I take a tablespoon every day of our product. And I take the olive oil, which when I was taking other products, I was taking their coconut oil because they didn't know any better that coconut oil, no matter what you do, will hold less than half what olive oil will hold if you're making it properly. Did you know that?
No. Well, that's very interesting because I was going to ask him when he was talking about olive oil, what about coconut oil?
So the numbers are this, just so you can compare. The olive oil, we do organic extra virgin olive oil, holds 0.8 to 0.8.6, depending on how well you are manufacturing. And I think we're kind of the gold standard because our lab's been manufacturing for 30 years.
I'll give you that.
The avocado oil maximum will hold 0.6 or 0.65. Coconut oil, it'll only hold 0.35 milligrams per milliliters. No matter if it's our lab or some schmuck in the basement or a garage spinning C60, you will never get more than 0.35 milligrams per milliliters, which is less than half what you can get in a good mix of olive oil. So even though we sell all three, because people, some people love coconut oil and they feel that it really resonates with their bodies. So we respect that.
I like coconut oil, but based on what you just told me, I would choose the olive oil.
Right? Whenever we send out samples, we send out olive oil. Whenever we promote on the air, which is pretty regularly, we promote olive oil. Because the
Patty will even call a customer who has placed a big order for MCT and personally let them know, hey, I just we're happy to sell you MCT oil, especially a large order. Before you get it, I want you to know there's a better product that's the same price.
Yeah.
And for you, Patty.
Sometimes people get a little upset with us because it is the same price. And there's twice as much or more ESS 60 in the olive oil. But the coconut oil, organic good stuff, not palm oil, even though they can call it organic MCT, a lot of it is just palm oil, which has no coconut whatsoever. Ours is well sourced and it's really expensive. And it's more than the olive oil. Even though we have really good quality oils, coconut oil appears to be the most expensive. So we try and educate people so they buy what is going to be best. But The reason I haven't been sick in so long is because I take a tablespoon every day.
Mhm.
Now, most people do a teaspoon, but I had to detox a monster. Most people aren't detoxing uranium, strontium. I can't even tell you what was in it, but I had a crazy person leave a vial of uranium in my garage because they were mad out of their mind. And I lost
Oh my
25
word.
pounds. I got really, really sick. And after the emergency room and ambulance, 3 days later, I flew to meet Chris and Rob. And I'm like, how could I possibly feel this much better? Right there. That's
Wow.
and I thought
That's awesome.
I can't even believe I'm doing this, but I do take a lot of detox remedies. But every month I ask my naturopath to test me with kinesiology to see if I still need to do that many. And in the last month, I've been able to cut back almost half of my supplements because I've actually detoxed really well with the ESS 60 formulation.
Now, I don't mean to bring up another product or anything like that during like this, but this water, is fifth phase water and has some amazing qualities. And detox is one of them. And it's infused with fifth phase water, which is actually a gas at that point, but something very interesting. Because you have to drink water, right? And I think it's one of the best waters you can drink. But anyway, back to the ESS 60, because that's what we're talking about. But detox, everybody's concerned about detox nowadays.
Right. Well, I'm a walking example of got over something really horrific. And most people don't have to deal with that level of radioactive stuff in their life. Most people are just detoxing, who knows. But I'm also on 16 years of mercury poisoning from a dentist that I shouldn't have trusted. So I'm kind of like a walking miracle. But what I'm noticing is that, the product is expensive, even though we do a lot of great offers. It's really expensive to make. We own the lab that makes most of it for the world, and it's still expensive to make.
Yeah, I'd like to take a tablespoon a day, but I don't know if I can afford it.
Well, who knows? You might be so much more productive that it'll be like, whew, that was a small price.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of people that take a whole line of supplements, such as I had to, are able to cut back when they get on the ESS 60. And I want to really clarify the difference between C60 and ESS 60, because a lot of your listeners have heard of C60, but not ESS 60.
Yes, please clarify the difference. What is the difference?
Well, Chris and Rob realized when I was doing a lot of shows, I was out there as an influencer years ago, and I was presenting C60 all over the place because I was so blown away that when I was really hurt and could hardly walk, I took a spoonful and it was his raw product. And within 30 minutes, I was walking. And that was what changed my life. I thought nothing works that fast.
Wow.
So for me, it's been an absolute miracle. But I've also been Patty the Rebel, who rode a Harley for 50,000 miles with no sunscreen, no jacket, like, woo, I'm a really responsible lady with a clean house and healthy kids. But when it comes to, or when it used to, come to having fun. Yeah, I don't drink, but I did like to ride.
Work hard and play hard.
That's right. I mean, who wants to go? Yeah, anyway, we don't want to go there. We want to be alive. But what I found was, before I owned the company with Chris, was that when you pour it on your spoon, sometimes you drip a little on the counter. So I'd wipe it off and I go, oh yeah, I'll put this on my face, and then I found that my skin was softening and I thought, what on earth? And I
noticed that right away. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I used to have a lot of brown spots because of my motorcycle riding days. No helmet, no windshield. I don't know how I did it, but here I am.
I know. I used to do some things I wouldn't do now.
But mainly the skin. So the brown spots, I started going to a dermatologist, and every 6 months she'd, freeze the brown spots and then they'd grow back. And then she'd freeze them again and then they grow back. Well, I started wiping the ESS 60 on my face. And ESS60, different than C60, is pure C60. It's the only C60 on the market that's guaranteed to be safe for human consumption by our lab that's been manufacturing all ranges of C60 for 30 years, since 1991, even though he looks like a baby because he takes so much of it. He just turned 50 something, low end.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my
55.
gosh. No, you don't. Yeah. Wow.
Look at
Okay.
his skin. I mean, it's almost not fair. But now I'm going to say, look at mine.
Well,
I
you know,
mean,
the earlier you start, the better you off you're going to be.
right, right.
I didn't
Well,
start early enough.
I didn't either. But you know what? Once you get on the right products, it makes all the difference in the world.
Mhm.
So I started seeing such a difference that I called Chris and Rob, my partners that own the lab down there in Texas. And I said, would you be willing to consider letting me start designing girl products? But they're not girl. Everybody loves their skin. Would you let me
Yes.
design a facial serum with a real formulator? And they gave me permission. So I went immediately to Brigitte Mars, who's written 20 something books on herbs, raw food. I used to hike with her, but it takes, I don't know, half hour to get 12 feet because you can eat, drink, smoke, burn, just about anything in the woods. You can consume it somehow. So
Mhm.
she is fabulous at that. So I met up with her and I hadn't seen her in about a year. And we sit down and I said, okay, I've got a job. I need to formulate a skin serum. And then I looked at her and I was like, my God, you're my age. What are you doing with your skin? You look 10 years younger. Chia seed oil. Have you ever heard of chia seed oil for the skin?
I've heard of chia seeds, but not chia seed oil for the skin.
I hadn't either, but she was so miraculously fabulous on her face. So I
It's a
said,
good
okay,
omega-3, I think, if I recall.
I don't know, but I know that when you squeeze the seeds and you get this teeny bit of oil, it's very
Must
precious,
take quite a few seeds, huh?
right? So
Yeah.
anyway, we started with that and we ended with the essence of rosemary oil because when you put this on at night, there's something about rosemary oil that
Yes, rosemary,
actually helps you sleep.
and it's good for memory too.
There's all these wonderful things, but I don't use anything else on my face. I only use the C60 Evo Advanced Facial Serum. And I think we're almost selling as many of these as we are the oil.
Yeah.
Now,
What else is in there? There's some other goodies in there
oh
too.
my gosh, 21 ingredients. So after I did the initial with Brigitte,
I noticed, because I noticed right away. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. And the skin, I noticed that first. Yeah.
I went
started
to a
paying
Texas
attention.
formulator and we ended up with 21 ingredients, all natural or organic, including the chia seed and ending with the rosemary essence. But the combination is magic. And I said, oh, 21 ingredients, that's really a lot. Can we squeeze it down? You know, she said, why would you? I went, good point. And at the lab, I mean, they just did huge batches and they got the HPLC machine to test that we're doing what we say we're doing.
Mhm.
So almost everybody that's bought a bottle or like you, the very first morning is like, what? My skin feels
So
plump.
soft. Yeah.
Did you notice the first morning?
Smooth and soft.
What are
Mhm.
you noticing on your skin?
Smooth and soft.
Yeah.
And even seems like, you know, I have a couple of areas where I would rather not have wrinkles, and I don't know, I'd like to see, you know, after a few months, what it looks like, if I can continue to do it.
Well,
And,
I think that the longer we do healthy things, the better our body is going to feel.
yeah, I used to always say, even with anything nutritional to people that I'd be working with, you have to give it at least 3 months in order to be fair.
Yeah.
Give it 3 months. And then if you don't notice anything or you can't tell a difference, then you've made, you know, you've had enough time, and chances are very good if you've been honest about it and doing what you, you know, intended to do, you will notice a difference. Like
Right.
this in combination with an anti-inflammatory diet, I think would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely on that. But the combination of the inside and the outside.
So there you go.
Body and outside on your skin. It's good on scars. But the combination of the in and out, we call it the in and out set. We discount it when you buy both. but it really is a massive difference when you're doing it through your entire system. And then for dessert, putting it on your face.
Yeah, I have a couple. You can't really see them now because I've got a little powder on or blush here. But I have one of those little one of those little age spots where the skin starts to get a little brownish, and I'd like to see if that goes away. And,
It helps to have it frozen.
And then
I think you got to freeze them at least once. At the dermatologist, they spray that stuff on, doesn't hurt, and then they get all skinny and brown, and then they fall off. But they'll grow back if you don't feed the skin something to heal the skin.
That's what I was going to say, because well, I had one on another portion of my body, and I had them do that, and then it came back and it was larger, so I didn't like that at all. So I'm going, there's got to be a better way. So I don't know, maybe I might try using some of that there and see what happens.
Absolutely. I don't know if you can tell, probably not, because my dermatologist can't, but I just had a surgery on my face 3 months ago, and I have stitches that are like 1.5 inches long. Can't see it.
No, you can't see it at all.
All I can see is my red nose from blowing my nose so much. But stitches are unbelievable, how new stitches, not old, I've healed like miraculously.
Oh, and a woman with a C-section, I bet would really, that would help that scar substantially.
We're not sure yet about babies or pregnant women, so we're not recommending it for children. So I don't know about a C-section if she's going to be nursing. I mean, I'm just being extra careful.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Yeah, I can appreciate that. Yeah, I doubt very much that there'd be any, that would be something you would have to do at your own risk. Let me put it that way. If they are willing to risk shooting injections in that have mercury amongst other things while a woman is pregnant, something of this nature, I think is much less harmful. I did a master's thesis on nutrition during childbearing years. And so I am absolutely, and one of the things that came through all the research that I did was not having any chemicals or any, you don't smoke, you eat as clean as you possibly can and things like that during pregnancy. And now they're suggesting that they take these shots. And I say, no, 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 no.
No, no, no. Well, also we have to consider that, the conversation now is so diluted about those shots. And if the conspiracy theorists and all the doctors,
if it's not conspiracy fact.
But what I was going to say is, if all of us conspiracy people are telling the truth, and if all the doctors and nurses and pathologists that are being suspended and hidden are telling the truth, then in a year or two, all those people that took the jab are going to really be needing a remedy. This is going to help. So we don't know which way it's going to go. But I know I'm not interested in adding anything to my body that's got chemicals.
Yeah, and it's synthetic, and it's never been done before, and it's an experiment, and there's no two ways about that, and that's truthful right there. And there are plenty of scientists who have come out and said that as well, because I've had them on my show. And so that's a whole nother ball game. But anyway, sounds like a wonderful product, and I'm impressed with the skin, and I have to say that I have a little more mental clarity and focus. I really, and that's always been an issue for me, because I consider myself a little bit ADD. My mind is going 90 miles an hour all the time. And then getting good sleep is important to me too, because shutting that mind off at night is a challenge.
It makes a difference. It helps your mental, physical, and emotional well-being.
It really does. 12 hours now. Like, what? I don't know how
I would feel guilty sleeping that long, it's like, it's ridiculous. I mean, you shouldn't, but I had that in, just like when you were talking about naps, when I was a kid, if I would take a nap during the day, my dad would come and wake me up and say, you don't sleep during the day. And so I kind of got trained that way. I don't know that it's a good thing, because if you're tired, you're tired, but anyway.
And there's actually it's interesting. 'Cause again, I've had to kind of come up to speed on a lot of sleep. We're actually doing a sleep study. I'm holding up my index finger and I've got an Oura ring on it. It's one of the better sleep trackers on the market. And we're working with a professor out of University of California, San Diego, who has access, who's a consultant for Oura Ring. So if a customer gives him permission, he can access their data. And we're doing an actual sleep study. And again, we're the kind of supplement company that's investing in the research. Our customers tell us, well, that it helps with hangovers. So it's actually going to be easy to find volunteers for a hangover study. I think that's going to be pretty easy. So we'll end up doing a hangover study. And we're already in the process of doing a sleep study. We're putting our money where our mouth is. Other than kind of, which is really important, our historical pedigree, delivering products to research institutions around the world who have the highest standards. That's where we come from, continuing to do that to our end consumers, and then also being the company that's investing in the research to support what our customers are telling us about our product. And as it relates to sleep, there's actually really good data. Taking a nap in the afternoon is very good for your mental performance in the latter parts of the afternoon. Now, there's two keys you got to be careful.
My dad ruined that for me.
Don't parents ruin everything? We love them, but they ruin everything.
Yeah, I hate to think about how much I may have damaged my kids anyway.
So one is, you don't want your nap to be longer. Really ideal nap time is 20 minutes. Anything over 20 minutes will interrupt your circadian rhythm. And then also don't take a nap after 4.
Oh yeah, I would wake up at 2:00 at night if I did that.
Yeah.
Probably. So anyway, well, that ring, I noticed that ring on your finger and I was wondering about it. And that's fascinating. I would like to find out more information about that, as a matter of fact.
How do you spell Oura? Chris, how do you spell Oura?
Oura.
Oura. Let me write that.
So a lot of people know about the only famous C60 study in 2012, the Paris Baati Study.
Yes.
Where the rats lived 90% longer. But not a lot of people go as far as to say where they got their C60.
Oh, yeah.
It was from us.
Yeah, they purchased from us. Yeah. And we're actually referenced in that original paper.
Very important point. I'm very glad you brought that up. Very important point.
I'm proud.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be. You should be.
I think we're probably.
So you're the original.
Yeah. Without that study, which mentions our company name, like, this industry wouldn't exist.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, I'm proud to be able to offer your product to the listeners of my different shows. So is there anything else that we haven't covered that you think we should? Otherwise, we could wrap this up.
I want to talk about just our introductory offers, because the only comments that I see that aren't, oh my God, I love this stuff, are, it's so expensive and I'm on, a limited, and a lot of people are.
Yes.
So we offer a lot of different discounts. And behind you is a computer of your personal landing page that's pink.
Yes.
For the month of February. March will be a different color. But we send all of our influencers a landing page. So if people tap on the link below our show, which you'll probably put up to your landing page,
yes,
then they can tap your link, which will take them to our store, and they get a 10% discount by using your link. So that helps your customers. But once they get into the store, I just want to mention that we have a lot of really good deals. If you buy these together, you save money. If you buy any sets together, you save money. We have a dog formulation with natural bacon essence. Dog leather.
That reminds me. I wanted to ask you that. I'm glad you brought that up. I noticed that you have a formula for a dog and you have a formula for a cat. Is there actually a difference between the formulas? Or is it just marketed as one for cat, one for dog, or how? Nope. Okay. What's the difference?
Ask any cat why they like C60 Evo, and they will tell you it's the natural salmon essence. Ask any dog.
The natural salmon essence. Okay. Yep. All right.
And our dog one has natural bacon essence to make sure that the dogs ask their owners for it. And most of the ads, when I sell the pet lover set, dog lover, cat lover, we always promote it as one for you and one for your human. So again, you save money. If people want to distribute or buy for friends and family, if they buy a dozen, they can get 25% off. If they buy a subscription on your link, they'll get 10% off, but it's always 20% off when you're on a subscription. So a product that's $95 for a 4-ounce bottle will be $75 every month. We send it to you. If you buy the, whatever it is, 20% off on a subscription. And if you don't love it, send us an email. We're done. Lovingly. But, it's not like you're obligated if you save 20%. So we encourage people to sign up, and our subscriptions don't go away. I think last time I checked months ago, we were up to 800 and something subscriptions, and most of them started when we opened in 2019. So once people try the product, they don't usually get off it. So the subscription is, I think, the best way to go, because then you save money every month and you get it sent to you. And if you realize that you're having too much, or you live in Australia, which is a huge market for us, or
Really?
Canada, which is a huge market for us, we recommend buy a bigger bottle every other month, or buy a really big bottle quarterly. And we have a really nice habit of doing our big bottle sale, where you get 20%.
How big is a big bottle?
16 ounce and 32 ounce.
Oh, wow.
Do you have any of those handy? It's a good
no,
size.
This is 16.
Oh, okay.
It's good size. But again, people overseas, because it's so expensive for shipping, we encourage them to buy a bigger bottle less often.
So and I have an international audience. So, and in fact, I'm having somebody from New Zealand, I think it is, or is she from Australia? I don't remember now. I think it's New Zealand. But anyway, and some other times that's been an issue with a CBD product, for example. But anyway, this is absolutely fascinating, and I feel very proud to be able to offer such a high quality product. And I like the idea of, doing the larger bottle. Would they be able to do a subscription that way?
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So sign up, get a big bottle, and say every 3 months or every other month. But whatever you ask for, our system will acquiesce, because we're here to serve. We want everybody to be able to afford it as much as they can. So right now we have a buy 2, get 1 at half price. I mean, there's always deals. And we've got a YouTube channel, which is C60 Evo on YouTube, which has dozens of videos. Chris and I talking about the science. He does the science. I do the testimonials, because I'm like, I think I've taken more C60 or ESS 60 than anyone I know. Maybe even more than the lab knows. I've really taken a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so we highly
encourage. And I'm absolutely delighted to know that you are the original product from the Paris study. That's big.
Yes.
That's real big.
And Chris and Rob have started a new study to reminisce the 2012 study, but they're concerned because it took so long for the last rats to complete the study that they unfortunately had to.
They just kept living and living.
They did. So we don't really know. It could be 120% longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very interesting. And it's funny, because many years ago I was working on a book, Good Health Through Age 120, and unfortunately it was in a computer, and the computer crashed. I lost all of it, and it couldn't be retrieved.
Oh,
that was 2 years of work.
That's painful.
Yeah, very painful. So anyway, and I haven't started again. But anyway, I would certainly include your product.
Maybe C60 Evo. Yeah. 1 would be included in the book, and 2 will get you that little extra energy to start working on it again.
Maybe. We'll see.
And filmmaker, I'd like to recommend backup hard drive always.
Oh, I know. I'm bad about that, because I'm not really a techie person.
Plug it in.
The clinical
Push
type.
go. Yeah, you got to plug it in and push go, and it's a couple $100. But I back up everything, but I've been through experiences that have shown me I need to. So,
Yeah, well, I had that one too. And that was funny because that was back in 92 and I was against GMOs and things of that nature. And that was very interesting that it just poof went like that. Because I
right.
had just sent a synopsis to a Dr. Ward, I believe his name was, in Pensacola, who was a vitamin research company. And it just disappeared the next day. Poof. But anyway,
Well, a lot of people are poofing, as we know. A lot
yes,
of people are disappearing or being disappeared off
yes,
social media. And the one common thread that we have with our testimonials, and you mentioned it twice, is mental acuity and emotional balance. In a world like this, where half your neighbors are scared to death
yes.
and the other half are yelling if you have a mask off and you're talking to someone, I mean, we have to be extra nice right now. We have to find a deeper place in ourselves. This stuff
Compassion.
works. This
Yeah,
stuff works. I think it makes people nicer.
yes. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And then you also have the antibacterial, antimicrobial viral part as well. So there's a lot of benefits to this, I can see. So
Yeah.
I'm proud to be able to offer it to my listeners. So thank you so much. And
Thank
if
you.
you have anything else, did we cover it all?
What is your special code, like EV something? Do you have that code handy?
Oh, EVO, Gale of Gaia.
I think there's a shorter one. It might be GG.
Oh,
But
I don't know.
they can just go to your landing page, just tap the link below the show. And the whole landing page is educational. We've got testimonials on there, but where it says shop now, once they tap that, it'll take them into the website and they will get your discount and your link.
Okay, yeah, I don't see a shortened version here, but
Yeah, it's
maybe
EVGG.
EVGG.
Yes.
Oh, that's really easy.
So if they just call our company, if they just go to our website, c60evo.com, and they buy a bunch of stuff or one product, as long as they go EVGG, they'll get an extra 10% off, and we will know that it was through you that your customer came.
Oh,
So,
cool. I was going to ask you too, like if somebody calls in and they got the number based on, my talking about it or having it, putting the show out there or whatever, do you ask where they found out about it or anything like that?
Absolutely. We want to make sure that you get as much credit as possible.
So that way I can get as much product as I can afford. No.
Anyway,
no.
do well.
I
We
am
want
just,
people to.
I'm being facetious here, but
Everybody wants more.
yes, I want to see, I'll do at least the 3 months in order to get a true picture. And I encourage anyone to do that with anything that they're trying. It just is the only way to have a fair trial.
And you've already noticed a difference. I mean, that's the amazing thing. And we get that from that's our most of our customers say that they notice something pretty quickly. Some of them, it takes longer. And even others are like, hey, I haven't really noticed anything. You get them on the phone and you start asking questions about naps or getting things done around the house or energy levels. And they're like, oh yeah, I really have been sleeping better.
Yes. And I went through your testimonials and they're pretty awesome. They really are. So I would encourage anyone to go to the site and check it out at the very least and give it a try. And you even have small sample size trials available too. So that's always a good
2 ounce, but we only do them by the dozen for people like doctors and dentists that want to have, or just people that want to check out. But yeah, we don't do 2 ounce bottles because it doesn't last.
Well, it doesn't last very long. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't thinking of that. Okay. But I can see why you might do that at a doctor's office or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, people want to try it, or a lot of people that can afford to will buy a dozen, 25% off, and then they can just give it to people. So you don't even have to tell them, just give it to them, 2 ounce little thing. And I think it ends up being $35, which is cheaper than you're going to get 2 ounce from the other people with half as much C60 in their product. So again, ESS60, different than C60, which is sometimes good, sometimes made for industrial purposes and not safe for human consumption. Really important. And some of these companies are buying their C60 in Wuhan, China.
Ooh. Yeah.
And we
Okay.
don't know, the companies that aren't buying from us, we used to sell to all of them, and now we don't even know where they're sourcing. But we do know that ESS60 is guaranteed to be safe for human consumption, and it's the only one on the market that is guaranteed to be safe for human consumption. Chris and Rob have been making all varieties of C60 for 30 years, and they've sold to research institutions around the world that test everything they receive. So that's where they know that they're doing it right, because I don't think they've ever had anybody return it due to quality or lack of C60.
Lack of quality, yeah.
But we did check 22 online products last year. Chris and Rob did. They didn't tell me till they were done because they knew that I'd go bonkers. And they wouldn't give me the results for a while because they knew that I'd go bonkers. But we are such a loyal team, and we don't want to be sued by the companies that are compromising their customers' products. And a lot of people say, oh, it's the cheaper. Well, that's not really true. It doesn't even matter, cheaper or expensive or barely advertised or highly advertised. If they don't have an HPLC machine or a lab, they're not testing the quality of the concentration levels. We test every batch because we have a lab that's been doing this for a very long time.
And that is a very important point. And that is also something that I pointed out with the CBD product that I carried as well, because you can buy that down at your corner convenience store, but you're not going to get the same quality. It makes a difference how things are made. Absolutely. And the quality of the lab and the quality of the people involved that are putting the product together. That's just the way it is. All right. Well, thank you so much. And what did you say it was? CGG?
EV. EV as an EVO, EVGG.
EVGG. Okay. I should know that and remember that.
And
all righty then.
If people wonder why we're C60 Evo, it's because we took it to the next level, which is ESS60, the evolution of C60.
I was wondering if that's what that stood for. I kind of thought it probably did, but that's good to know.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for the wonderful information and having this awesome product.
Gail, thank you so much for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I look forward to using it more.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
This program is not intended to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure any disease and should not be considered medical advice. The statements herein have not been evaluated by the FDA. The opinions expressed are those of the guests and not necessarily the opinions of Free Range, its producers, principals, or staff. Viewers are directed to consult professional sources before acting on any information presented here.